Welcome to step 2 of the Insight Advantage program, Collect and Analyse. In this critical step, we focus on gathering and examining relevant data and validating that for accuracy and completeness. We break down information to identify key themes, patterns and anomalies and categorise findings according to business priorities. In step 1, you develop the scope and plan for the review. You'll now be clear on the why, who you need to collect information and data from, the type of information you need, the time frame, and who is responsible for the work. The question we're asking at step 2 is, what does the data tell us? But we really need to collect it first. And it's really important here to be open to new data. You may have a plan, but sometimes you need to go where the data takes you. And that's okay, as long as it's still aligned to your overall objectives. I've often uncovered issues in an organisation that the leadership team were unaware of, and they were able to deal with it before the review was actually finalised. And this shows real responsiveness to the team's feedback. In one review I conducted, we discovered that team members were incredibly frustrated with the length of time it was taking to have requests for expenditure approved. It involved multiple layers of management and redundant documentation. Now, while the CEO was aware of some of the delays, he wasn't aware of the volume of delayed work and the impact that this was having on morale. And being able to surface these issues as I found them, it allowed them to be addressed before the review was actually finalised. Step 2 has 3 sub-steps. 1, collect the data. 2, analyse the data. And 3, document your initial findings. The first sub-step is collect the data, which is self-explanatory. We collect data to help us evaluate performance against our defined objectives. In step 1, we identified the sources of the data that we required for the review, and this is the step that takes the most time in any review process. To coordinate and set up interviews and focus groups, to send out surveys and allow enough response time can take several weeks. And an important point to raise here is that this review framework, while presented sequentially, is not linear. We can be working on steps concurrently. In fact, you need to. But while you're collecting data, you can also be starting to set out the draft report, and you can also be talking to customers. This parallel approach saves significant time in the overall process. Once we've gathered our data, we move to sub-step 2, analyse the results. This methodical process involves several key components. First, we validate data quality, completeness and relevance. An example of this is to check the accuracy of the information you may have been given in an interview or a focus group. Compare that information against what other people may have reported and then confirm whether it's relevant to the questions you're asking of this review. I'm consistently contacting people I may have already interviewed to confirm data or information they've provided. I'm regularly sending follow-up emails asking questions. Next, we clean and prepare the data, making sure that it's in a form where we can analyse. In-depth reviews generate a large amount of data. At times, my spreadsheets are huge, and I'm always going back and cleaning up those rough notes so that I can easily go back to it later and remember what I've written down. We then break down complex information into manageable pieces, and this allows us to apply appropriate analytical techniques. In the example that I'll be giving a little bit later on, we'll use a SWOT analysis to organise our findings. As we examine the data, we can identify patterns, so the trends, recurring issues, any outliers or anomalies, and areas for success that provide insights into our objectives. We then categorise these findings based on business impact and priority, while also identifying gaps where critical information may be missing so that we can go back and get that when we need. We can recognise areas or challenges that need immediate attention while identifying those that can be addressed later. Sub-step 3 is to document initial findings. So documentation is essential throughout this process, and this sub-step can begin as soon as data starts coming in. We record our analytical methodology to ensure transparency and replicability. We then draft initial findings based on our analysis, creating a foundation for the recommendations we'll develop in later steps. What I've found particularly useful is to record direct quotes from the consultations. So these quotes provide great evidence for the key themes that you identify, and they add authenticity to your report. And we'll look at how to incorporate these in the next step. The example I'm providing for this step is a simple SWOT analysis. I like using SWOTs because they're simple, they're visually easy to understand, and most people are familiar with them. Looking at strengths, we've identified an experienced leadership team, a skilled workforce, strong customer loyalty, and a healthy financial position. Under weaknesses, we note dependency on a small client base, gaps in digital transformation, high employee turnover, inefficient decision-making, and limited marketing efforts. Opportunities include emerging market trends, potential geographic expansion, a new ERP implementation, and shifting customer behaviour toward online engagement. Finally, threats. They encompass a lack of strategic direction, leadership misalignment, increased competition, regulatory changes, and potential social media backlash affecting reputation. Of course, this is just an example, but this structured approach helps us clearly visualize internal and external factors influencing performance. Sometimes weaknesses can easily tip over to threats, but it's very dependent on the questions you're asking in the review and the impact that they're actually having on the business at that time. The collection and analysis of data presents significant opportunities for AI enhancement. AI excels at processing large volumes of information, identifying patterns that humans might miss, and eliminating bias through consistent application of analytical methods. By incorporating AI in this step, you can extract insights from unstructured feedback, clean data more efficiently, and discover hidden correlations within complex data sets. Several examples I'd like to highlight. First, AI survey tools like Qualtrics XM can analyse employee survey responses and extract key themes. For example, with a simple prompt asking, analyse responses from this employee survey and summarise key themes, an AI might identify that 1, employees appreciate workplace flexibility, 2, they find career progression unclear, and 3, they see a need for improved cross-departmental communication. Sentiment analysis tools like Monkey Learn can categorise customer reviews, providing quantitative metrics along with thematic insights. So you could use a prompt like analyse customer review for sentiment and categorise them as positive, neutral, or negative. And a response might say, out of 500 reviews, 65% of reviews praise customer service, while 15% mention concerns about wait times. AI can also generate comprehensive SWOT analyses from business insights. With copying in either the raw data or your drafted findings, you could use the prompt very simply, generate a SWOT analysis from this feedback. And any response, an example would be identifying strengths like brand recognition, weaknesses such as limited digital presence, opportunities for international expansion, and threats from competitors with lower pricing models. You can read further examples of this in your slide pack. To summarise this step, your key actions are to first collect all relevant data and associated collateral from your identified sources. Second, thoroughly analyse the data, organising those findings into a structured format, and the example I gave was the SWOT, identifying key themes that assess business performance in each area. Finally, document your initial findings to create a foundation for the next steps in the process. This step produces 3 essential deliverables. 1, your collection and analysis workbooks or files with complete methodology documentation. You'll need these details when preparing your report, so it's really important to keep track. 2, an analysis format, such as the SWOT, with key themes assessing business performance across critical areas. There is a framework you can use in the workbook. 3, an initial findings document that will inform our recommendations in subsequent steps. There's also a template in your workbook for this, and you'll see that this is where the report starts to take shape. In my experience, and believe me, I've learnt the hard way, being methodical about these deliverables saves a lot of time in the next step. I've learned through conducting reviews that maintaining the clear documentation throughout makes synthesizing your findings and writing up the report so much easier. Think of these 3 sub-steps as a powerful data lens. Collection gathers the raw materials, analysis brings them into focus, and documentation captures the clear picture that emerges. When executed well, these 3 elements lay the foundation for everything that follows. By investing proper time and attention here, you ensure your final recommendations will have impact. Now that we've collected and analysed our data, organised it into a structured format, and documented our initial findings, we're ready to move to step 3, synthesize and recommend. In the next session, we'll transform these analytical insights into a cohesive narrative and develop recommendations that align with your business objectives. We'll also explore how to effectively present these findings to gain leadership buy-in.